Welcome to Asian ID. Have you ever watched a fleeting moment of tenderness on a screen and felt your heart tremble, only to later wonder whether that emotion was ever real to begin with? I remember the instant I first saw that so-called deeply affectionate visit, where two figures stood close under dim lights, their gesture soft, their embrace almost poetic, and I nearly believed that the chaotic world of entertainment had finally given birth to a love story worthy of legend. Didn't you feel that too? But then, like a crack in a perfect mirror, the timeline began to shift, and suddenly the illusion felt less like destiny and more like design. Because how could one person be wrapped in secrecy at dawn in one city while the other was simultaneously filming intensely on a different set, as if time itself had been artfully edited? Doesn't that make you pause? And so the myth unraveled, thread by thread, revealing that what had been painted as a 13-year tragic romance was in fact a story barely a year old. Born not from shared memories but from a script written for attention, making you wonder how easily we surrender to narratives we desperately want to believe. Isn't that unsettling? There is something almost poetic in the irony, that a love story marketed as enduring and eternal could be traced back to a single collaboration in August 2025, where two strangers met not through fate but through casting calls, which makes you question whether coincidence has been replaced entirely by calculation. Wouldn't you agree? Even more curious are the whispers from behind the scenes, where those who witnessed reality spoke of distance rather than intimacy, of seats apart rather than hands entwined, of silence where there should have been laughter. And if that is true, what exactly were we watching all along? A love story or a performance? Perhaps this is where the machinery of modern storytelling reveals its true form, where affection is no longer discovered but constructed, where chemistry is rehearsed, refined, and repackaged until it becomes indistinguishable from authenticity. And doesn't that blur the line between emotion and illusion? The pattern is almost too precise to ignore, as first comes the sweet romance designed to attract devoted followers, then a second collaboration to deepen attachment, followed by a dramatic twist of tragic love to intensify emotional investment, making you wonder whether even heartbreak has become a calculated strategy, hasn't it? And yet, amidst this carefully orchestrated spectacle, there remains a truth that refuses to disappear, because despite the artificial sweetness, the performances themselves carry weight, effort, and sincerity, which raises a complicated question. Can something be both fabricated and genuine at the same time? One cannot ignore the dedication behind the roles, where one actor immerses themselves in financial interviews to embody a character burdened by vengeance, while the other reshapes their own body to portray a man hiding contradictions beneath calmness. And doesn't that kind of commitment deserve recognition regardless of the narrative surrounding it? It is here that the contradiction deepens, because while the emotions between characters may feel real, the connection between the actors may remain distant, creating a strange duality where truth exists only within fiction, and fiction begins to influence how we perceive truth. Doesn't that feel almost paradoxical? So when the drama finally premieres, and audiences watch two characters love each other with intensity and desperation, how can one completely forget the carefully staged moments that came before? And is it even possible to separate what we feel from what we know? Perhaps the real question is not whether the relationship is real or fake, but why we are so eager to believe in it, why we cling to the idea of destined love even when evidence suggests otherwise. And doesn't that reveal more about us than about them? Because in the end, what breaks is not just the illusion of a couple, but the fragile trust between storyteller and audience, leaving us standing at the edge of belief, unsure whether to surrender to the narrative or resist it. And isn't that where the true conflict lies? So tell me, when love becomes a product, when affection becomes a strategy, and when even heartbreak is designed for maximum impact, are we witnessing a beautiful story unfolding, or are we simply participants in a carefully orchestrated game? And more importantly, do we even want to know the answer? Thank you for watching the video. See you again.